Hello, good morning. My name is Neil Arwin Mercado and this is the Inside Look. Joining us here today is Food and Drug Administration Director General Eric Domingo. Sir, how are you? Kamusta po?
Hi, good morning. Thank you for having me. Medyo busy ngayon sa office, but
I know,
we're
sir.
doing fine.
Kaya maraming salamat at naisingit nyo kami sa inyong schedule. Alam nyo yung FDA, isa yan sa mga pinaka-busy ngayon in our fight against COVID-19. So, sir, let's dive in sa ating mga tanong. First, let's talk about AstraZeneca. You had a recommendation for us to continue its use despite yung suspension, sir. What was the base? The public might ask, what was the basis for this recommendation despite reports of events in other countries, sir, na affected daw directly or indirectly by AstraZeneca?
Yeah, well, let me tell you first why we had to pause, no? Kasi yung AstraZeneca, the company itself called us last week and said they're going to insert something new in their product information. At yun nga, idadagdag doon sa kanilang product information na there's this possibility of the rare blood clotting events that has been found in in some countries that have been using it in millions and millions of people. So sa Europe, merong report na ganyan. Pagkatapos, sinabihan nga sila na kailangan isama nyo na yan sa inyong product information. So when we were told about it, we looked at the data and it seems to be there are a few cases that being seen in people who are less than 60-year-olds and then no previous history naman of anything. Although it is very rare since at that time kasi konting-konti na rin naman yung AstraZeneca vaccines natin. We asked the Department of Health to please pause muna yung using sa below 60-year-old. Marami naman tayong senior citizen na bakunahan. So bakunahan na muna yung senior citizens kasi hindi naman nakikita itong events na to sa kanila while we examine the data. So while we were pausing for a week, less than a week, we asked the WHO for information. We asked the vaccine expert panel to look at the data available. And then of course yung hiningan din namin ng opinion yung ating National Adverse Events Following Immunization Committee. Sila yung nagmo-monitor ng adverse events. And nagbigay sila lahat ng opinion nila. Sabi nung NAFIC, wala naman tayo pang nakikita na ganitong cases dito sa atin. Tapos the WHO and the vaccine expert panel, both unanimously agree that benefits still outweigh the risk because it's really very rare. It's somewhere between 1:2 for every 150,000 people vaccinated or 1:1 million, na vaccinated. So compared to the risk of getting COVID and dying from COVID, definitely mas malaki yung mas malaki yung possibility na kung hindi ka nabakunahan, magka-COVID ka at mamatay ka. So nung tiningnan natin lahat ng mga recommendations and data, we affirmed the decision of FDA that vaccination using the AstraZeneca vaccine, the benefit definitely still outweighs the risk. At sinabihan natin ng DOH na ganoon nga na maaari naman gamitin uli ang bakuna.
Sir, when we say the benefit outweighs the risks, can we further elaborate on that? What's the scientific basis for us to say that the benefits still outweigh the risks?
Yeah. So kasi sa ngayon ng mga vaccines natin under emergency use administration, authorization, kailangan yun yung main criteria niya, the benefit outweighs the risk. So for example, if you have 1 million people, and then magkakaroon ka nga ng possible na adverse event nito, let's say for 1 million people, 2 people might get the blood clotting event, okay, it's possible. Pero kung yung 1 million people naman hindi mo binakunahan, kung 10% sa kanila magkakaroon ng COVID without the vaccine, that's 100,000 people. Kung yung sa 100,000 people na yon 2% mamamatay, that's 2,000 people. So ititimbangin mo siya ngayon, Kung magbabakuna ka, may possible clotting ka na 2. Kung hindi magbabakuna, may possible na mamamatay from COVID na 2,000 na tao. So then that's how we say na definitely the benefit of vaccination outweighs the risk. But of course, nagbigay din naman tayo ng advice sa DOH. Kailangan din naman gumawa sila ng guidance para sa mga tao na mababakunahan. Kailangan yung vaccinators natin should be made aware that there is this rare possible adverse event at yung mga tao mababakunahan dapat alam nila kung merong masakit ang ulo nila na hindi nawawala for a few days, or may sumasakit sa tiyan nila, or may nakikita sila no, ng mga spots na parang dumugo sa katawan nila, halimbawa, then they have to be aware of the possible na signs and symptoms of this blood clotting and decreased platelet adverse event para kung makita nila yon makapunta sila sa ospital. And at the same time, dapat yung ospital natin alam din kung anong gagawin sa mga pasyente na magkakaroon ng ganitong adverse event.
Sir, I'm just curious, sir. Did the FDA or DOH or the DOST conduct any study regarding how serious these blood clotting reports are?
No, these are very rare kasi. No? So what we have now are reports from overseas. And itong mga reports from overseas, some of them have already been published. And very well defined naman siya. At alam naman na, of course, it's a very serious adverse event, no? And it could be fatal in some patients. Kaya nga kailangan kung magkakaroon man, ma-detect early para magamot din ng maaga.
So I understand, sir, that the FDA, that was only, let us clarify that, sir, that was only a recommendation to the DOH, tama, sir?
Which one?
For the move to continue the AstraZeneca inoculations.
Yeah, well, so we told the DOH in the same way that we recommended the pause. Now we're saying that we recommend the use of the vaccine again, but of course, please put some safeguards. No, and just add to your guidelines on what people should watch out for.
Any word from the DOH, sir, as to when these guidelines will be released?
Well, I'm sure they're already working on it. No, the good thing din naman kasi medyo timely naman tong ating itong evaluation kasi ubos na rin naman yung ating AstraZeneca vaccines for now. No, the first batch that came in, di ba, from the COVAX facility, this has been used up. And I think the second batch is coming maybe end of April to early May. So the Department of Health naman will have enough time to craft the guidelines for that.
So now, sir, we talked about AstraZeneca. Let's talk about Johnson & Johnson. That's another vaccine, sir, that we're receiving reports na having some adverse events like blood clotting similar to AstraZeneca, sir. So what is the status of Johnson & Johnson here in the Philippines, sir?
Yeah. So yung AstraZeneca is a similar technology to the the Janssen vaccine has a similar technology to the AstraZeneca vaccine. They are both adenoviral vector vaccines, meaning they get the adenovirus of a harmless cold virus and then they put parts of the COVID-19 virus there so that it will be detected by the body and it will create an immune response to protect you. So similar yung kanilang kanilang development technology platform. Tapos ngayon nga sa US, nakikita meron silang na-observe ng parang 1 for every million people vaccinated, no? Had what they're suspecting to be the similar blood clotting with with decreased platelet count. Yung Janssen, nag-apply na rin ng EUA yan sa atin, no? Based on the EUA that they have from the US. And then this is now actually under evaluation by our vaccine expert panel. They were scheduled to give me their recommendations last Wednesday. Kaya lang before they finished up with their deliberations, nagkaroon nga ng news ng pause from the use of the Janssen vaccine sa US. So what they did was instead of giving the reports siguro immediately, since nabalitaan nila, they got more data na rin on this on this phenomenon that is being observed in the US. And it's now going to be included in their deliberations. So hopefully they will finish with that and then give us the recommendations by maybe towards the end of the week or early next week.
Sir, these reports of dito sa vaccines ng Johnson & Johnson, how will this affect their EUA application, you think, sir?
Well, it will affect in a way na siguro magkakaroon ng possibly that you might have put some conditions to the emergency use authorization. Kasi yun nga hindi malaki yung effect kasi nga the events are very, very rare, no? 1 in a million, no? Na-imagine mo naman na yung 1 in a million, always magiging benefit will outweigh the risk if you're vaccinating 1 million people against COVID, which is really devastating and is making a lot of people sick and killing people, no? So in that part, hindi masyadong magkakaroon siguro ng event na magkakaroon ng problem, no? Magkaka-issue. However, since you already recognize that this might happen, you just put some safeguards. Exactly the same way probably as what we did with AstraZeneca na sabihan naman natin yung mga tao kung ano yung babantayan at kung anong gagawin kung meron gano'n.
Sir, dito so doon sir sa AstraZeneca, balik lang ako mabilis doon sa AstraZeneca sir. So, there will be revisions din sa kanilang EUA specifically on maybe putting some conditions, especially with the recent reports. Is that possible? Maybe sir, revising the EUA to include more safeguards and to include more conditions. Is that possible, sir?
Well, sa EUA, talagang ano yun, no? The EUAs are very dynamic. You can continuously revise them at any time that something is found, no? Or that something is some new finding, for example, or some new precautions that have to be taken, or kung kailangang ibawal mo sa a certain group of people, yun ang nature ng EUA. It can easily be revised. In this case, ang marirevise dun sa EUA niya, part and parcel kasi ng EUA yung requirement for the product information brochure that is available to everybody. So ito, meron na talagang change, no? Kasi nagbago na yung product information niya, nakalagay na ngayon no, na meron talagang rare instances of blood clotting and with low platelet counts. So yes, no, an EUA is very dynamic because these products are still under development. No? They're in the middle of their phase 3 clinical trials. And we're getting to know more and more about them as more and more people get vaccinated. So talagang continuous process siya ng pag-review at saka pag-revise.
So a similar clause, let's say, can be included doon sa EUA application ng Johnson & Johnson, sir, because they're having the same, kumbaga, kailangan nilang ilagay that there are rare instances of possible effects after vaccination. Tama, sir?
Yes, posibleng mangyari din yun. No? Kasi like, if you look at the US FDA website, makahanap mo doon yung link ng product information nung Janssen. Kasi hindi pa siya approved sa atin eh. So wala pa siya sa website natin. So pag nakita sila ng mga ganon, and then the regulatory authority, in this case the US FDA, will tell them, okay, you have to put this there. Then they have to comply. In the same way that AstraZeneca complied with the directive of the European Medicine Agency. Yun yung FDA ng Europe na sinabi, okay, kailangan ilagay nyo yan.
Are you eyeing, sir, or let's say, do you have any timeline or any date on your mind, sir, when it comes to kailan kaya maaprubahan itong application ng Johnson & Johnson?
Well, I want it to be done by next week, no? Kasi for these applications from companies that already have an EUA from a stringent regulatory authority, no? Like US, EU, or WHO. Alam kasi naman natin, kompleto naman na yan requirements dyan eh. Ang mga pinabago na lang usually dyan, yung mga very country-specific na mga requirements. So, ang timeline ko sa ganyan, gusto ko dapat within 21 days matapos. So, I think they applied March 31. So, they're on their 14th or 15th day today.
So, you're eyeing...
I want that to be done by next week.
Next week approval, sir. Eyeing, targeted date of approval is next week.
A decision. Yes.
A decision. Yes. So, sir, the question of the public now is, how do we balance, sir, the need to address the pandemic as soon as we can? So the need for the vaccines, and how do we balance that with ensuring that the vaccines that we are inoculating Filipinos with are safe? So parang how do we balance safety and urgency, kumbaga, sir?
Well, number one, dapat walang there should be no important safety concerns. No, if a vaccine, for example, leads to a fatal outcome in 1 for every 100 people, then hindi naman po pwede yan dahil baka mas malaki na yung risk mo with the vaccine injury kesa sa risk mo for COVID-19, no, and dying from COVID. So you have to check. You have to make sure that the benefit outweighs the risk. There will always be risk. No? In any medicine, any vaccine that we take, there will always be risk. But we manage that by being very transparent with everybody. So kamukha nito, tinatanong nila sa akin, ba't sinabi nyo pa na merong ganyang mga blood clotting events? No? Natakot pa tuloy yung mga tao. Pero hindi kasi pwedeng hindi natin sasabihin sa mga tao kasi babakunahan sila and they will accept this, no? They should know that there are some risks associated with getting vaccination and that the benefits are greater than those risks, no? So that's how we balance it, no? You check if the benefit outweighs the risk. And if it does, you have to tell the people what the risks are. We have to let them know. We have to let them know that we are monitoring this and this is what we're seeing. This is what we're finding. We're checking all over the world and this is the information that we're getting. The benefit for you still will outweigh the risk, but everybody has the right to know what the risks are before they decide to get themselves vaccinated.
Sir, my last question on this topic of vaccination is, what is your personal assessment of our vaccination efforts? Are we doing a good job? Or have we vaccinated enough people to say that the vaccines are working? What is your personal assessment, sir?
No, I think we're all unanimous in knowing, no? Even everybody naman in government knows that we need to vaccinate more people. So far, we've vaccinated 1 million people, but there are 108 million Filipinos now. And we need to go up to 70 million at least, no? To get some form of herd immunity. So we really need to get more vaccines on hand, make them available here, and inject them on more arms. Talagang the vaccines work. No? The adverse events are very rare compared to the benefits that we will get, but we just need to vaccinate a lot more people.
Now, sir, let's go to another controversial topic, that is Ivermectin, sir. So earlier this morning, sir, another hospital was granted. You announced that another hospital was granted compassionate special permit. Sir, before we go on that, before we deep dive on that, we take a deep dive on that. A lot of people are actually confused. The questions we usually receive is, ano ba yung CSP, sir? Can you explain that, sir, to our to the public, sir, as kumbaga as simple as we can? Ganun, sir.
Okay. Ang compassionate special permit, pag ang tao meron siyang sakit, no? Tapos walang gamot na registered sa Pilipinas, no? It's not available here. It's not registered here and it's not for sale in the pharmacies here. But the doctor feels that you will benefit from this drug, no? Whether it's a proven drug or an investigational drug. Pero yung doctor mo, feeling niya makakagamot ito sa'yo, tapos ikaw naman maniniwala ka din, then you can ask the FDA for a compassionate special permit. So that we will allow you to import this and bring this in. Ivermectin kasi for human use is not registered in the Philippines. Walang available na ganito sa atin sa mga butika ngayon. Walang may certificate of product registration kasi matagal na siyang hindi ginagamit sa Pilipinas, no? For human use. So kung meron doctors na gusto siyang gamitin para sa pasyente nila, then they have to get a permit from the FDA para ma-order nila, ma-import nila itong gamot na to, tsaka magamit nila sa kanilang pasyente.
Sir, dito kasi pumapasok yung confusion ng maraming tao. So you're saying, the FDA is saying na wala pang registered ivermectin for human use here in the Philippines. The only registered ivermectin drug here in the country is for animal use, anti-parasitic, and so on, sir. So dito pumapasok yung confusion, sir, na if wala palang registered na drug for human use here in the Philippines, why do we have to approve why approve CSP if this is the question, sir? And bakit hindi na lang aprubahan yung ivermectin for human use here in the Philippines para diretso na, no need to apply for CSP?
Well, kung may mag-a-apply ng registration dito sa atin, pwede silang mag-apply at pwede silang ma-approve. Kaya lang, as of now, wala pa talagang nag-a-apply for registration, no? And of course, the registration process of a product is usually, it takes a little longer, no? It takes anywhere from a few weeks to maybe a month or two. Pero kung kailangan mo na yung gamot, yung compassionate special permit, 24 hours lang ang approval nun. Kaya lang, the doctor takes responsibility for the product because it's not technically a registered product here, di ba? Ikaw ang nagpapasok doon at ikaw ang bumibili noon galing sa ibang bansa. So hindi siya registered product dito, hindi siya pwedeng ibenta. Pero of course, pinakamadali talaga yung mayroon talaga mag-register na product dito sa atin. Kaya lang as of now, may mga nagtanong na sa atin ng mga companies who want to register the product here. wala pa naman nagsasubmit ng official na application na kailangan namin aksyonan. So, hindi po yun dahil ayaw namin mag-apply, kundi dahil wala pa naman kaming aaksyonan na application at this time.
Because Ivermectin advocates, sir, ang kanilang sinasabi ngayon is we cannot apply because the registration or the application process takes a very long time. So, and there is an urgency to address the pandemic because people are dying. So, anong sagot ng FDA sa mga ganong concerns regarding the process of the application, sir? Is there a way for us to shorten it?
We already told them that if you're going to apply for it, it's an investigational drug. We will take a look at it and evaluate it as quickly as we can, no? Kaya lang syempre, hindi niyo naman pwedeng i-fault ang FDA na sabihin niyo masyadong matagal kung hindi naman nag-a-apply, no? And of course, we cannot approve anything kung hindi kompleto yung proof mo on the quality of the product, on the safety of the product, no? And the indication for which you're applying for. So ito rin naman, di ba, napaka-unfair naman nung sasabihin na hindi kami nag-a-apply kasi matagal dyan. Pero wala namang application na pending. I mean, we do naman. Everybody here knows the urgency of the situation, and we've said naman that we're going to evaluate everything as quickly as we can, but we need something to evaluate.
Sir, balik ako dito sa CSP, sir. Ano ang basis ng FDA to approve a CSP?
So ang CSP, ang kailangan lang naman, unang-una, yung sakit na gusto mong gamutin, yung gamot na gusto mong gamutin ay registered dun sa bansa na kung saan mo siya i-import, di ba? Tapos of course, yung importer mo is a licensed importer of medicine, and that at the very least, that product is known to be under investigation for the disease that you want to treat. So sir, either proven treatment siya or an investigational product for the disease that you want to treat. And we all know naman that COVID-19, one of the products that is being investigated for its treatment is Ivermectin. Kaya talagang kaya eligible naman talaga siya for CSP. Once you check all the boxes and all the requirements are there, it's very easy to get approval from FDA.
So let's, sir, for the information of our viewers, what is the status of Ivermectin or CSP applications for Ivermectin use here in the Philippines? How many have applied so far? How many have we approved so far?
So right now, 2 have applied and 2 have been approved, for compassionate special permit for use of Ivermectin here in the country.
Can we disclose the names of these hospitals?
No, I think we leave it to the hospital to disclose if they want, kasi may privacy naman yung patients nila. It's not up to the FDA to disclose. But if the hospitals that have applied for it want to identify themselves, they can do that.
So sir, I think it's also important for us to clarify to our viewers that the only doctors that can prescribe Ivermectin are those in the hospitals whose applications were approved. Tama, sir?
For the CSPs, yes. There's another way kasi there's another way for people to have access to Ivermectin. Because although it is not registered, we know that it is really naman an anti-parasitic drugs. So there are pharmacies that are licensed to do compounding, what we call licensed compounding pharmacies. So ito yung pharmacy na kung may reseta ka ng doctor mo, meron siyang permit to ibibigay mo yung reseta mo, tapos i-compound niya, gagawin niya, and then they turn it into a capsule. So there are compounding pharmacies that are licensed, meaning a doctor can prescribe this medicine to a patient, the patient can bring it there, and they can have it compounded for them. But this is per prescription, per patient basis. Hindi siya yung commercial manufacturing na ibebenta sa butika. Kasi para ibenta mo sa mga outlets, kailangan yon registered na yung produkto.
So sir, let us just, if I understood it correctly, please correct me if I'm wrong, sir. There are 2 legitimate ways to how you can get Ivermectin for human use. Number 1 is by getting it from the hospitals whose CSPs were approved for Ivermectin use here in the Philippines. And second way is through compounding, legitimate and licensed compounding pharmacies, sir. Tama, sir?
Pharmacies.
Na dapat kailangan din ng prescription from a doctor before they can compound the Ivermectin.
Yes, because it's a prescription drug, no? And in the Philippines, it can only be dispensed with a prescription. And of course, pharmacist dapat yung mag-dispense ng paggamot sa pasyente.
So anything, any, let's say, distribution of ivermectin for humans outside these legitimate processes, sir, they are illegal.
Yes.
Mm-hmm. So let me cite an example, sir. What if punta tayo dito kay we heard about Anak Kalusugan, Party List Representative Mike Defensor planning to distribute ivermectin. Is this valid, sir?
Well, as long as they follow the correct procedure, meaning a doctor should see the patient and write the prescription and the pharmacist will dispense the medicine, then that's fine, no? Ang hindi lang pwede syempre kung hindi naman medical person tas magbibigay ng gamot, yun hindi maaari yun. So meron namang basta naman masundan lamang yung mga patakaran natin at saka yung steps to make sure lang na safe yung pagbigay ng gamot at saka pag-dispense.
So if it's mass distribution, it won't be allowed because dapat, sir, from my understanding, from what you're saying, it should be a doctor prescribing for a specific patient. So if it's just mass distribution, it should not be allowed.
Well, it depends on what you mean by mass distribution. Kung
mass distribution
yung mga tatas, ibabato mo lang basta yung
mass
gamot.
distribution na as in ipapamigay lang, sir, not specific for a patient, yung prescription ng doctor, that's not allowed.
Yeah, definitely not allowed.
Mm-hmm. Okay, sir. Sir, people, so we have already approved 2 CSPs for 2 private hospitals here in the Philippines. Some people are saying that FDA succumbed to pressure sa ivermectin advocates. What can you say about these claims, sir?
Yeah. Well, our rules and regulations have been there since last year for the CSPs for anti-COVID-19 medicine, no? So dito kasi may checklist ka naman eh. Pag nag-apply, isasubmit mo. Pag pumasa ka, bibigyan ka ng permit, di ba? Pag hindi ka pumasa, hindi kompleto yung binigay mo, hindi ka nang bibigyan ng permit. So hindi naman pressure yon, kundi ibig sabihin naka-comply sila, no, sa requirements. At on the other side naman, yun naman mga gusto naman parang walang regulation ng ivermectin, sasabihin naman kami naman napaka-stricto, no? I think I'm sure you've seen it on social media. There's one side saying that we're too strict, another one saying that we're succumbing to pressure. And all I have to say is, first of all, we are not anti-ivermectin, but we are unregulated ivermectin. We are anti-illegal drugs, no? Hindi pwede yung unregistered. Hindi pwede yung veterinary products ireseta sa tao. Hindi pwedeng nagdi-dispense na hindi doktor at saka hindi pharmacist yung gumawa ng gamot. But everything that is legal naman and applications that are complete will be processed also according to to the processes that we have here. So we have nothing. We are neither anti or against ivermectin, no. But we have to impose and implement the laws and the regulations when it comes to drug regulation here in the country. And this is really just to ensure that the products that are being used out there are safe, that they are of good quality, and that the efficacy for the disease that it is indicated for and known to be used for is there, no? So yun lamang naman po, no? Hindi naman kami namimili dito ng side. Kami talagang yung trabaho lang namin is to make sure ng safety at saka quality at saka efficacy po ng gamot na available sa inyong lahat.
So categorical answer, sir. The FDA is saying, no, we did not succumb to pressure. We just followed our current regulations.
Yes, that's the only way to do your job. You can never please everybody, no? Laging pag nag-approve ka, merong galit sa'yo. Pag hindi ka nag-approve, meron kang galit sa'yo. Pero ang magagawa mo lang ay sundan mo yung tamang proseso. And if you do your job as it is written, as it is supposed to be done, then you make sure that you are fair to everybody. And that fairness is something that the FDA can guarantee.
Sir, I don't know if you have been made aware of this, but a resolution was filed in the House of Representatives seeking to, and it's filed by no less than the House Speaker himself. So it seeks to inquire on the policies of the DOH and FDA on the distribution, registration, sale of COVID-19 drugs. They are saying that some of these policies daw, sir, are detrimental. That's the word that they used, sir. So, any reaction dito sa ipinasang resolution for an inquiry in the House of Representatives?
Well, I think it's a good opportunity for us to be able to describe and explain the processes here at FDA para hindi nga para hindi nagkakaroon ng ng conjecture kung ano yung mga dahilan at kung ano yung mga kung meron man mga ibang iniisip para malaman para ma-explain natin kung ano yung proseso, kung bakit nandoon yon, and how these are all actually based on laws that dictate how the FDA will work, I mean, we only follow the laws that are passed by Congress itself, hindi naman kasi kami pwedeng lumabag sa batas. At of course, kung nakikita naman ng ating mga mambabatas na merong kailangan baguhin sa batas, then that will be very helpful, Then makakagawa rin naman ng bagong batas pa para mabago kung meron silang nakikitang pagkukulang or pagkakamali, dun sa ating sistema ngayon. But I think, every time naman we have these hearings, I see it as an opportunity to explain what is happening and why the situation is like that and what the processes are here at FDA.
Sir, last question na lang. Mabalik lang ako dito sa Ivermectin, pumasok lang bigla sa isip ko, sir. Ano yung naging instruction natin, sir? Ano naging pag-uusap ng FDA, PNP as the agencies dealing with this, sir? Regarding sa Ivermectin, sir, sino yung mga possible na mahuli? On what grounds can you be arrested for Ivermectin use?
No, I think that there was a meeting between our enforcement unit and PNP para i-clear kung ano yung illegal at saka kung ano yung legal na Ivermectin. Kung ano yung registered, kung ano yung unregistered, kung sino yung mga pharmacies na license at saka may permit to do their compounding, kung ano yung compassionate special permit at kung paano may import yung mga gamot. So that para lang klaro kung ano yung illegal at saka kung ano yung legal na Ivermectin na perong na nandito sa Pilipinas. Dahil yun nga lagi ko sinasabi, meron pong legal na paraan na gumamit ng Ivermectin dito sa atin. And if we follow that, then we will make sure lang na safe yung gamot na binibigay natin sa ating mga pasyente.
Final question, sir. What commitment can the FDA give to the public, at least when it comes to vaccines, drugs, in our fight against COVID-19? Because yun yung sakop ng FDA, sir, di ba? Vaccines, medicines, sir. So, ano yung kayang ibigay na commitment ng FDA sa publiko ngayong kinakaharap natin itong pandemic?
Well, kami po, araw-araw ang trabaho namin, ang nasa puso namin, ang mandato namin is to make sure that all products that are available to you are safe, they are of good quality, and are effective for the disease that you want to use them for. So yun po ang pinagbabasihan ng lahat ng decision natin dito. And we disclose to the public naman everything that they want to know about the product. Kapag meron po tayong nakita na lumalabag, sinasabi rin po namin sa inyo yon. And we just want to make sure na kung ano man po yung gagamitin ninyo, ay na dumaan po sa tamang pagsusuri. Hindi po tayo papayag na magpagamit ng mga gamot kapag hindi po tayo sigurado na ito ay makakatulong sa ating sakit.
Okay. So maraming salamat, sir. Alam kong busy na busy kayo ngayong
araw. Hindi nga tumitigil yung cellphone ko eh.
Alam kong busy kayo. So maraming salamat, sir, at napunlakan nyo kami, sir, ng inyong kaunting oras. Again, that is FDA Director General Eric Domingo, sir. Thank you so much. Sa uulitin, sir.
And, thank you. Bye-bye.
This is Neil Arwin Mercado, and that is the Inside Law.